Last session we discussed about stereotype annotations. Today's session we are going to talk about IOC and DI. IOC and DI, right? So as we discussed in the first day of this boot microservices course, I told Spring Core module is prerequisite for attending Spring Boot and microservices. Spring Core module knowledge is the prerequisite for attending our 07 SVMS course. Now, so if you are already completed Spring Core module, then you might have already aware of IOC container and dependency injection. IOC container and dependency injection, IOC and DI are fundamental concepts of Spring framework. IOC container and dependency injection concepts are very fundamental of the Spring framework. Without IOC container and dependency injection, can we imagine the Spring framework?
No, sir.
No.
Without IOC and DI, can we imagine the Spring framework?
No, sir.
The Spring framework is built based on the two fundamental concepts. They are IOC container and dependency injection. Now, what is IOC? What is IOC? IOC stands for inversion of control. IOC stands for inversion of control. IOC stands for inversion of control. What is the purpose of IOC, guys? IOC stands for inversion of control. What is the purpose of
It will
IOC?
manage the all
To create and to manage
IOC
life cycle.
is used to manage and collaborate
dependencies among
dependencies among the objects in the application, right? IOC stands for inversion of control. It is used to manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in the application. IOC container will manage and collaborate the objects using dependency injection. IOC will manage and collaborate dependencies, using dependency injection concept. Using dependency injection. So IOC is a principle which is used to manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in the application. How IOC is managing and collaborating? How IOC is managing and collaborating dependencies in the application? By using a concept called dependency injection. Now, what is dependency injection? What is dependency injection, guys?
injecting dependent object into target
It is the
object.
process of injecting.
Dependent
Injecting
target object.
dependent object into target object is called as dependency
injection.
It is the process of injecting dependent object into target object is called as dependency injection. The process of injecting dependent object into target object is called as dependency injection. We can use dependency injection in below three ways. We can use dependency injection in below three ways. What are those injections we are using? First one is setter injection. Second one, constructor injection. And third one,
Field injection.
field injection. Guys, please mute your mics. Sabir Hussain, please mute your mic. Lot of disturbance. All right. Now, so IOC is a principle which is used to manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in the application. So in order to manage and collaborate the objects in the application, IOC container is using dependency injection concept. Dependency injection is the process of injecting dependent object into target object is called as dependency injection. So now we can use dependency injection in three ways. What are those three ways, guys? Could you please tell me?
Setter injection.
Setter injection, constructor
field
injection.
Dependency
injection,
injection
field
will be used
injection.
in three ways. What are those three ways? One is setter injection, another one is constructor injection, third one is field
Field
injection.
injection.
Setter injection, constructor injection, and field injection. Okay, right. Now, so all these concepts you might have already heard in the core module. Just we are recollecting that to use in our applications. Now, so could you please tell me what is a setter injection? What is a setter injection?
Injecting resources using setter method is called setter injection.
Setter injection. Injecting dependent object into target object. Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean setter method. Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean setter method is called as setter injection. Is called as setter injection. Guys, could you please tell what is setter injection now?
Injecting target bean dependent bean to target bean using target bean.
Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean setter method is called as setter injection. All right. Next one. What is constructor injection? What is constructor injection, guys?
Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean.
Which is constructor.
Injecting dependent bean
Into
into
target bin.
target bean using target bean parameterized constructor.
Parameterized constructor, right?
Using target bean parameterized constructor is called as constructor injection. Is called as constructor injection. Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean parameterized constructor is called as constructor injection. All right. Now, what is field injection? What is field injection?
Injecting field to where?
Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean property, using target bean variable. Right. Now, guys, we'll do the examples also. First, I'm giving the definitions. Later, we will write the example for that. Injecting dependent bean into target bean using target bean property is called as field injection. Is called as field injection. Just go through these three definitions.
Injecting dependent to target setter method is called as setter. Injecting dependent to target when using target when parameter constructor dependent target when using target when property is called setter.
Guys, all of you comfortable? What is IOC container theoretically? IOC stands for inversion of control. It is used to manage and collaborate dependencies among the objects in the application. IOC will manage by using dependency injection. So what is the dependency injection? It is the process of injecting dependent object into target object. Okay. How many ways we can do the dependency injection? In three ways we can do the dependency injection. One is setter injection. Second one, constructor injection. Third one, field injection. Setter injection means dependent object will be injected into target object by calling target class setter method. Okay. Now, constructor injection. Constructor injection will happen through target class. Constructor injection will happen through target class parameterized constructor. Dependent bean will be injected to target bean by calling target bean constructor. Okay. Third way, that is field injection. Dependent bean will be injected to target bean using target bean variable, that is called property. Right now, these are the three dependency injections we are going to use in our application. Now, so how this dependency injection we are going to enable, how we will specify the dependent bean for our target. These dependency injections we will perform using auto wiring annotation. These dependency injections we will enable using at auto wide annotation. These dependency injections we will enable using @auto wide annotation. So when we write @auto wide annotation, then IOC will understand, okay, this is the dependent bean and this dependent should be injected to target bean. All right. Now let me develop one simple application by using setter injection. Let me develop a simple application by using setter injection.
Sir, is dependency injection only for reference type dependency or primitives also, sir?
It is only for reference types, not for primitives.
Okay, sir.
Right. New project, Spring Starter project. Yeah. Here I'm going to create one application for setter injection. Yeah. 02 Spring Boot setter injection application. Okay. Now if you see, the project type is Maven, packaging type is jar, version is 8 for Java, language is Java. Now package structure. Click on next. 2.4.2 is the latest version of the Spring Boot. Currently, I am not selecting any dependencies because by default boot starter will come. Click on next and click on finish. Application is getting created. So inside this application, I want to perform setter injection. In this application, I want to perform setter injection. Okay. Now, so go to this project. By default, start class is created. What is the purpose of this start class? It is entry point for our boot application execution. This start class is the entry point for our boot application execution. Okay. All right. Now I'm creating one class. With a name called user DAO, com.ashokit.dao. A class I'm creating with a name called DAO, user DAO. Now inside this class, I'm writing one method, public string find name by ID. For that integer ID I am passing. If ID is equal to 101, then return name as John. Else if ID equal to 102, then return name as Smith. Else return null value. Return null value. Some logic I am writing inside my DAO method. If ID is equal to 101, it should return some John. If ID is 102, it should return some Smith. If it is not John, it is not 101, 102, it is going to return a null value. Good. Okay, it is a normal Java class now. Can I represent this class as a Spring Bean?
Yes, sir.
So can I represent this class as a Spring Bean now?
Yes, sir.
No, sir.
We
No,
can
sir. No.
we can use the annotation
Using component scan.
at the red repository.
Sorry, sir.
Now, can I call this class as a Spring Bean?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Because we are using
at the red.
annotation called repository
Stereotype
now.
generation.
We can call this class as a Spring Bean.
Spring Bean.
Very good. Now, let me create one more class. User service. This I am keeping inside a package called service package. Service package. All right. This also I am representing as a Spring Bean by using one annotation called
Third service.
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 Now here I want to write one method, public void print username. Public void print username. Okay. For that I am passing integer ID. It has to get the username from the DAO. Service layer should get the username from the DAO. DAO is a separate class. Now, can I inject DAO into service?
Yes.
Can I inject DAO into service now?
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes.
How?
Yes.
At the red
Yes, sir.
At
repository.
auto error.
So construction engine.
At the rate out of wide.
With the Saturn injection.
Right, guys. Now, here I have taken a class called user service. I have represented that class as a Spring Bean by using at service annotation. My service bean wants to talk to DAO bean. So I'm injecting DAO object into service. How? By using setter method. Right. So I need to inform to IOC container to call the setter method. IOC container will call the setter method by default, or IOC container will not call the setter method by default. Will call or will not call?
Will call. Will call.
We will check it. Okay. Now go to this start class. Can I get the bin object from the IOC?
Yes.
Can I get the bin object from the IOC?
Yes.
Yes.
Context we have. All right. Now context dot get bin of user service dot class. Context dot get bin of user service dot class. Now I got service bin. Okay. Service dot print username whose ID is 101. Print username whose ID is 101. So what I am doing in the start class, guys? Inside the start class, I'm getting the bin of service. So service is a Spring Bean or not? So can I
Yes.
get the object from the IOC container reference?
Yes.
Object from the IOC container reference. I got user service object. Service dot print username. What is happening in the print username? We are calling DAO method. In the print username method, we are calling DAO method. What the DAO method is doing? Based on the condition, it is returning some name for us. Now, tell me what is the output I am going to get now?
John.
What is the output I am going to get now?
John, sir.
John is the output we are going to get. So you people are saying that expected output is the John.
John.
Let's verify. Can I run this program?
Yes.
Run as boot app.
Boot up.
What happened?
Null pointer exception.
We are not getting John. We are getting null
Null.
pointer
Yes.
exception.
Null pointer exception.
Where we are getting null pointer exception? Print
Not
the
exact
username
values.
method.
User service.
Print the
User
username
is
method.
gonna
User service class. User service class 17 line number. Go to the 17 line number. What is happening in the 17 line number? User DAO dot method. It is giving null pointer exception. Why? This user DAO is a null value. Null value dot something will give null pointer exception. Now tell me why this user DAO is a null.
It is not created.
Dependency injection.
You need
Dependency
to perform
injection.
the @ word annotation.
Yes.
Dependency injection happened. Dependency injection is not happened.
Not happen.
Not
Not
happen.
Dependency injection performed or dependency injection is not performed.
It is not performed.
Dependency injection is not performed. Why dependency injection not performed?
We have not used the
Not
@
we have not used
word annotation.
inject.
We are not performing dependency injection here.
IOC container. Now user DAO is a Spring Bean or user DAO is not a Spring Bean.
It is a Spring Bean.
User service is a Spring Bean or user service is not a Spring Bean.
It is
Yes,
also
Spring
Spring
Bean.
Bean.
Also Spring Bean.
Both are Spring Beans or not? Now
Yes.
simple.
Yes,
If you want to check that, write a 0 param constructor and verify objects are creating for them or not. Sys out user DAO constructor. Okay. Now go for user service. User service. System.out.println. System.out.println. User service constructor. Okay. Now DAO object got created, service object got created. We will understand from console messages. Run. Let's run our start class. Run our start class. Run our start class. DAO constructor executed or not?
Yes.
Service
Service
constructor
data.
executed or not?
Yes.
Executed.
Both are executed, sir.
But
Both are.
still we are getting null pointer exception. Even though they are Spring Beans, we are getting null pointer exception. The reason is DAO object got created by the IOC container, service object also created by the IOC container, but DAO object not injected to the service object. Dependency injection performed or dependency injection is not performed.
Not purple.
Not performed.
Non perform, sir.
Now see here, read the last point. Read my last point.
This injection is will be enabled.
So
At the
we need to inform to IOC container to perform the dependency injection. We need to inform the IOC container to perform the dependency injection. Now, before that, let me write one system.out.println in the setter method, set user DAO method called or not. Set user DAO method called or not. Okay, fine. Now execute this. Execute this and see the console. Setter method called or setter method is not called.
Not called.
not called.
Setter method is not called.
Not called.
Setter method is not called. If setter method is not called, what is the value available in this variable?
Null.
User DAO variables.
What this variable is holding now?
Null.
Null value.
Null value. Then what I am doing in the 22 line number? That variable dot method name. That variable holding null
Null
value.
value.
Null dot method.
It
Null.
is finding a null.
Null dot method will give you
Null.
We give you a
Pointer exception.
ID.
null dot, null dot something. Null
Null
dot
pointer
something.
exception.
Will give you null pointer exception. Now, so if I don't want this variable to hold the null value, I want this variable to hold the user DAO object. I need to inform to my IOC container to call the setter method to perform the dependency injection. I need to call the IOC container to call this method so that user DAO object will be injected to this user DAO variable. For that purpose, I'm going to write at auto void annotation here. I'm going to write at auto void annotation. Now, can I say I am doing setter injection here? Can I say that I am enabling a setter injection here?
Yes. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So when I write at auto void, IOC container will call my setter method. In order to call the setter method, IOC need to pass any parameter for the method, or without parameter also it can call my setter method.
Parameter, sir.
Parameter should be passed. What is the parameter of my setter method?
User DAO.
User DAO classes and objects, sir.
Come on.
Reference of user DAO.
Reference of the user DAO.
Reference of the user
Which class
DAO.
we are going to create object to?
Sorry.
Dependent class object should be passed as a parameter.
Parameter. So now, in order to call the setter method, IOC should pass the user DAO object, or IOC should not pass the user DAO object. IOC should pass the user DAO object.
Object, sir.
If user DAO object passed as a parameter to our method, what I am doing in this method now, whatever the object I am getting as a parameter, that I am initializing to my variable.
Variable, huh?
Yeah, so can I say this is initialization?
Yes.
So whatever the object we are getting as a method parameter, we are storing that object into current class variable.
Yes, sir.
Now, so wherever I use this variable, I will get the user DAO object. User DAO dot method name. We will get the value. Now let's try this. Right. I'm executing this program. This time, set a user DAO method called, or this method is not called.
Method is called
Method is called, and we are getting the value as a
John.
and we are getting the value as a John. Now tell me how we enable that setter injection in our boot application.
@auto.
So if you specify @auto void at the setter method, then it is going to perform setter injection. Are
Yes,
you
sir.
guys comfortable with this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So if I don't specify @auto wiring, then what is happening?
It
Will not a join, sir.
exception.
It is not calling the setter method. If it is not called the setter method, initialization will not happen. That variable will be null value. That null value dot method, it is going to throw null pointer exception. Now tell me, Is it mandatory to specify auto void annotation at the setter method, or is it
Yes.
optional?
Mandatory.
Mandatory, sir.
It
Mandatory.
is mandatory to specify auto void at the setter method. Then only IOC container will call that method and will perform the dependency injection. Are you guys able to follow this?
Yes,
Yes, sir.
Any confusion with the setter injection now?
No.
No, sir. No.
No. Okay, very good, sir. Now, I will go for constructor injection. Same application I will use for the constructor injection also.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes.
Can we pass two objects to the constructor and it will work?
Yes, it will work, sir. It will work. That the constructor or setter?
In that setter.
Yeah, you can take two dependent objects also, no problem.
Okay.
Right. Now, so guys, now I am going for one more project, third project. This is for constructor injection. This is for constructor injection. So what is the meaning of constructor injection? What is the meaning of constructor injection?
Injecting the dependent.
Dependent bean into target bean by
Injecting
using
dependent bean
bean
into
parameterized
target being
target bean parameter constructor is
called
called a constructor
constructor injection.
Okay, very good. User DAO is available. It is having a constructor, 0 param constructor is available. Fine. Method is also available. It is a Spring Bean. Very good. Now go to user service. User service. I don't write any setter method here. Let me remove it. I don't write any setter method here. Let me remove it. Now I'm going to declare a variable. For this variable I will take as a parameter user DAO. Then I will specify this dot user DAO is equal to user DAO. How I am taking the dependent object in the target? Constructor argument. Constructor argument. Now, can I say it is a constructor injection now?
Yes.
No,
No,
we
sir.
can.
No.
We need to give annotation.
Because of we are not mentioning at the rate auto wire.
At the rate auto wire, sir.
We did not specify at the rate auto wire. Now, can you tell me what is the expected output?
Null.
Null point
Null pointer exception.
Null or null pointer exception or John?
Null pointer
Null
exception.
point exception.
Null pointer exception. Why are you telling that it is giving null pointer exception?
Because we did not get the output of
Dependency
that.
is not
It
happening.
is the null
You people
value.
are saying that, you people are saying that we have not specified auto void annotation at the constructor, so dependency injection will not happen. Then it is going to give the null value. Null dot method will give the null pointer exception. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
Yes or no?
Yes,
No, sir, it is not. No, I think so. It gives the null.
Yeah, see the output.
It gives the null.
See the output. What happened?
John.
John is
Magic?
the
Magic?
So, yeah, object is already created. That's why it passes the reference like this.
So you people expected null pointer exception or null value, but it is giving Jan is the output. Now look at the class. Look at the code. Dependency injection happened or dependency injection not happened?
Happened.
Dependency injection happened. Did I specify auto void or I did not specify auto void?
Did not specify.
The reason is now user service is represented as a Spring Bean or user service is not represented as a Spring Bean.
It is represented as
It is represented as a Spring Bean. If it is represented as a Spring Bean, who is responsible to create the object for this Spring Bean?
Container.
IOC container.
IOC container should create the object for this Spring Bean. So to create the object, constructor should be called or constructor will not be called?
Constructor will call.
Constructor will be called or constructor will not be called?
Constructor should be called. Creating the object.
Constructor should be called.
Constructor should be called or constructor should not be called?
Should be
Called. How many constructors are available in our program to call now?
One
parameterized
Parameterized constructor.
parameterized constructor.
Parameterized constructor is available to call So IOC container have any option to call the another constructor, or it's mandatory that it should call only this constructor?
It's a mandatory to call
Mandatory
for
to call
One this
this constructor only.
Right. Now, if I don't write any constructor, then zero param constructor will be available. Zero param constructor will be called. When I write a parameter as a constructor, zero param constructor will add, or zero param constructor will not add.
Will not add.
not add.
Will not add.
Now,
Yeah,
so
got it.
guys are able to follow me now.
Yes, sir.
I represented user service class as a Spring Bean. IOC has to create the object for my Spring Bean. In order to create the object for my Spring Bean, IOC should call my constructor. So what constructor I have written in my program? I have written parameter as a constructor. What is the parameter I am taking for my constructor? User DAO object. User DAO is a Spring Bean, or user DAO is not a Spring Bean?
It is a Spring
It is
Bean.
also
Spring
a
Bean.
Spring Bean.
Spring Bean. Yeah.
IOC already have the object for user DAO, or IOC doesn't have the object for user DAO? Already have it.
Already have.
So can it call this constructor by passing this object or not?
Yes.
It has to call. There is no option for the IOC. I left no option for the IOC. Hey IOC, you need to create my object. If you want to create object for my class, you have to call this constructor. In order to call this constructor, you have to pass the DAO object as a parameter. If it pass the DAO object as a parameter, I'm initializing my variable with the DAO object. So dependency injection completed or not?
Yes.
Dependency injection completed or not?
Yes.
Completed.
So
Because
now,
yeah.
do I need to give auto wiring here, or I no need to give the auto wiring here?
No need to.
give.
Optional. It is optional, guys. It is optional here. Why? Because even though if I don't give auto void, IOC has to call the constructor to create the object for my user service. If it has to create the object for my user service, it has to pass the user DAO as a parameter. But last time when I go for setter injection, is it mandatory to give auto wiring for the setter, or is it optional for the setter?
Mandatory.
Why it is mandatory here?
Because dependency injection is not happening.
By default, setter methods will not be called. When the object is created, only constructor will be called. So explicitly, I need to tell to the IOC container to call my setter method. That's why I am writing auto wiring at the setter method. But when it comes to the constructor, even though if I don't specify auto wire, by default this constructor will be called when the object is created for user service. So specifying auto wiring at the setter method is mandatory. Specifying auto wire at the constructor is optional. Guys, do you understand why it is
Yes, sir.
optional?
Yes.
Do you understand why it is optional?
Yes. That means if you are using the constructor, that time it create the object first, dependent object first, then after target.
Exactly. First we will create the dependent object. It will pass the dependent object as a parameter for the constructor. Then it will create the target object. By that time, dependency injection completed. Okay. Now I will do one thing. I will write one constructor here. Okay. I'm writing one constructor here. So how many constructors are available in our application now?
Two constructors.
Two constructors are available. Can I call? They are zero param constructor and parameter constructor.
Yes, sir.
Zero.
They are called as
Zero parameters.
zero param constructor and parameter constructor.
Zero parameter.
Zero param constructor and one param constructor.
Yes.
One param constructor. Okay. Two constructors I have. One is zero parameter. One is parameter constructor. Parameter constructor. Now, I will execute my project. Can you guess what is the output?
Null pointer.
I am calling service.print username. Service is a Spring Bean or not? Service is a Spring Bean. That service is having any dependency or not? Service is having a dependency with the user DAO. Last time that dependency injection happened successfully, we are able to call the method. But now verify, I'm executing my project. See what is going to happen.
John will be come.
F11, run the program. What happened now?
Null pointer exception.
Why null pointer exception?
Zero param constructor.
Because it created the object using the zero param constructor.
It created the object by using zero param constructor. If it created the object by using zero param constructor, that means this constructor is executed. Dependency injection happened or dependency injection is not happened.
Not happened, sir.
So now the IOC having two options to create the object by calling zero param constructor and by calling parameterized constructor. Which one IOC is using to create the object now?
Zero.
Zero param.
Zero param. If it is using zero param constructor to create the object, dependency injection is happening. Dependency injection is not happening.
Not happening.
Happening.
Not
So we
happening.
need to add auto override.
Suppose if I remove this constructor, how many options IOC having?
Only one.
One.
Only one, sir.
How many options IOC having to create the object for user service?
Only one option.
Only one option. So if that is the only one option, dependency injection will happen or not?
Happened, sir.
Happen. It's happened.
Specifying auto wiring is not required.
Yes.
Specifying auto wiring is not required.
In case of parameterized constructor.
Okay, now if I write two constructors here, how many options IOC having?
Two.
Two options.
Two options. Which option IOC is using now?
It prefers
First
the
option it is
First zero parameterized
using
constructor.
zero parameter constructor to create the object. So dependency injection happening or dependency injection is not happening?
Not
Not
happening.
happening.
Now, when you have more than one constructor in your class, then you need to specify auto void. Now,
Okay.
if I specify auto void, what will happen?
It will take
It will,
parameters
if
to constructor.
Dependency injection will happen.
Dependency injection happen only for the
calling zero parameter.
Now
And
see that.
if-
Now
parameterized
if
constructor.
I use one or two.
which one it is calling now?
Parameters.
Parameter constructor. So we are telling the IOC to call the parameter as a constructor only to perform the dependency injection by using auto wiring. So now tell me, auto void annotation is a mandatory or optional for the constructor injection?
Optional, sir.
If two or three constructors
we are using
there, that is
one or
not
more
qualified
option.
for If one
Yeah.
parameterized
If you
constructor.
have more than one constructor, then you have to specify
Then
this.
auto override is mandatory. Mandatory.
If
Auto
you
override.
have only one parameter as a constructor, then auto
not
void is
required.
optional.
Not required.
Auto void is optional.
Optional.
Do you guys got the clarity when to
Yes,
use
sir.
auto wiring in the constructor injection?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, I have read this concept earlier. Auto wiring is optional when you have only one constructor. Auto wiring is mandatory when you have more than one constructor. How many of you are aware of this concept?
No, sir. I'm not.
No?
Sir, this is called as a
not
constructor
aware.
overloading.
Okay. Constructor overloading, you are aware. Okay, good. Yeah. So that's what the difference I told that. Complete difference I will show you in the quality of the subject. You can't compare our content with any other trainer in the market. The best content you are going to get. The only time, don't force me to complete the course quickly. Give me proper time, proper environment, proper support. I will give you the best quality subject. Okay, I need your support for that. And in the middle of the class, some disturbance is coming, guys. Please mute your mics if you are not speaking. Because of your disturbance, entire class is getting disturbed. Please take care of that from tomorrow. If you are responding to my not responding, I'm not forcing you to respond. If you are not responding, please mute your mic and sit idle. That's it. You just listen to that. But my suggestion, please involve in the class so that you will get interest to learn the concepts. So class should be interactive. I can keep everybody in the mute. I will not allow you to ask the questions also. Then I can complete my class and I can close it. How other institute faculties will do. But I don't want to go in that way. I want my sessions to be interactive so that people will get more interest to listen the class. So as I have given that support, please utilize that properly.
Sir, I have a question, sir.
Yes, sir, please.
Sir, what happened if you pass two parameters in the constructor? Already we have one parameter.
It will inject those two classes. It will pass those two class objects as parameters for this constructor. Currently, I have taken
My
only
question
one
is-
parameter.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Actually, we are using one param constructor as well as zero param constructor, right? So instead of using zero param constructor, can we use two param constructor? Then which one will auto wire by default?
Two param constructor means you want to take one more parameter here.
Yeah, we can define another constructor with two params. So then which one will auto-write first?
If
So
one
you
param
mean to, you mean to say we don't write this zero param constructor at all. I
Yes.
want to write one more constructor with another parameter.
Yeah, two params.
Okay, let's try
Yes.
this. Now
Yes.
let me create one more class as some report to DAO.
I mean, my question is actually it will follow any order or what?
We'll see that, sir.
Yes.
At the rate repository. Now let me configure this as a Spring Bean. System.out.println. Okay. Now report to DAO constructor. Report to DAO constructor. Now go for user service. Here also I'm taking private report to DAO. That is report to DAO. Now I don't write any auto wiring here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Need to import.
Public class report DAO. Why it is not taking this? Did I create it in the same project or different project? Okay, I think I created this in a different project, sir. Let me create this project in the constructor injection application. New class, report DAO. Represent this as a Spring Bean by using at repository. System.out.println. Report DAO constructor. Then go to our service class. Take report DAO as report DAO. Okay, now here I am having one constructor which is taking user DAO object as a parameter, and I'm taking one more constructor which is having report to DAO as a parameter. This is two param constructor. Then I will write this dot report to DAO is equal to report to DAO. So now I have done constructor overloading here. Constructor overloading. One constructor is taking one parameter, another constructor is taking two parameters. There is no zero param constructor. Now, our student question is, which constructor is going to execute? Any guesses?
ambiguity error.
Ambiguity.
One constructor will execute or two constructor will execute. One param constructor will execute or two param constructor will execute.
Ambiguity error.
Two param constructor.
Default constructor, default.
Ambiguity is not there.
Sir, how default? First of all, default will not be available when you as a parameter as a constructor.
One param. According to the value, it will be called the constructor.
Let's
Because
try.
it doesn't parameters constructed, we will throw error.
What happened? What is happening? Error in creating the bean within a user service defined in the file. It is not able to instantiate user service. Bean instantiation exception. No default constructor found. Nested exception. No such method exception. Failure to instantiate that service. No default constructor. Okay. When you write more than one parameter as a constructor, then it is ambiguity problem. It is looking for the default constructor to execute. As that is not available, it is failing. Suppose if I remove this now, if I remove this,
This parameter will get
It will work.
So,
working or not?
yes.
So if you write more than one parameter constructor without default constructor, it is ambiguity problem. It is not allowing us to create the objects.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
You can remove one param constructor now.
Sorry?
Yeah. Can you remove, sir, one param constructor? Then no, how it goes? Yes.
Right. Now I am removing this one parameter as a constructor, then verify. then it is calling two parameter constructor directly.
Sir, if we keep both constructor and if we provide auto wire in second parameter, constructor will still work.
Then it will work, right? Now I have given auto wiring for what?
Two parameter
Second one.
constructor.
Second one. Let's try.
It will work.
It is working.
Yes, okay.
So if you write auto wiring, then no problem for that IOC. Directly it will go and call that constructor to create the object. When you don't write the auto wiring, then it is the confusing problem. Okay. Right. Now you can do constructor injection like this also. Now, if I have only
hello,
one
sir.
constructor,
Hello.
if I have only one constructor, do I need to specify auto wiring or I don't need to specify auto wiring?
No need to specify auto wiring.
No need to specify auto wiring.
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
Since the IOC container have reference to report out, then why still it is causing the ambiguity problem?
It is confused which constructor it has to execute. Reference is available, objects are available, but this is a parameter constructor. This is also parameter constructor. Which parameter constructor it has to call to create the object? That is the confusion for the IOC. That's why it is failing.
Okay. And hello.
Suppose if I don't have this, directly it is calling this constructor to create the object. Suppose if I don't have this, directly it is calling the constructor to create the object. If I have both, which one it has to use to create the object now? Whether it should use one param constructor or it should use two param constructor?
No one.
Confusion, ambiguity.
Ambiguity. Yes.
Now, how can they resolve that ambiguity?
At auto wire.
By default, auto wire.
Forcefully.
Forcefully, I am telling to call
Forcefully.
the second constructor only. Then it will create the object by using second constructor. Got it?
Okay, understood. And sir, one more question. The context.get bins returns the same object reference to every time. I mean, is it singleton or not?
By default, spring beans are singleton, sir. Every time it will return the same object. The
Okay.
of the bean is singleton.
Okay.
Sir, we can at Lambda connotation. Lambda is also providing parameteristic constructor, right?
Yes, sir. We will use Lombok.
We can use that also for
Yes,
auto
yes,
wiring.
yes, we can use.
Sir, I have a question. I read a one sentence that is, if setter method is used, it is optional. If constructor method is used, that is mandatory. But here we execute optional.
No, I will compare the setter and constructor injection, madam. Currently today, understand what is setter injection, what is constructor injection. I will tell the differences between those two, which one to use also. Okay?
Yeah.
Got it?
Sir, can we use both constructor and setter injection in the same class?
Then setter injection will override the constructor injection because first constructor will execute, then setter will execute. When the constructor will execute at the time of object creation. Okay. When the setter method will be called after the constructor injection. Okay. What will be the final output you will get? Setter injection output only you will get. Setter injection will override the constructor injection, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Guys, please practice the setter injection, constructor injection today. Tomorrow we are going to talk about field injection. Once the field injection is completed, then we will compare setter, constructor and field injections. Thank you. We'll continue tomorrow.